grew up from playing with that, grew a lot of passion with the sport very quickly. And as I said, competing with, I was like 6, 7 years old, competing with, having fun with like 50-year-olds and trying to beat them. So I soon grew a lot of passion for the sport. And then ever since, yeah, just kept playing and grew a passion with it ever since I got like till now. And yeah, since then I've played some of the junior slams and yeah, I'm currently number one in the UK for the under 18, under 19s, like ATP rankings. So yeah, it's been some good kind of progress along the way since I started. But obviously, want to go a lot more and yeah, see how it goes and try and look to play Wimbledon this year. That would be a good goal. No, it's a good question. That I've been asked that a few times because I don't really see it as a few like I'm definitely working as like that, like a full-time professional in the sense that I'm traveling around the world and training very, very hard. And yeah, I'm competing around the world globally. And so yeah, I would say that, and I'm obviously getting paid, but the thing is at a tennis level, you need to be probably around 150 to be a true profession and get paid from it. So I'm about 720 in the world, and at the moment, I think now I've dropped to like 730 or something. But yeah, it's amazing how tennis is such a, I don't know, maybe it's similar to golf and individualized sports. You have to be so high in what you do to be a full-time professional. So I mean, yeah, I guess I'm classified as a professional tennis player, but I still don't want to say that until I get to a certain stage where I'm starting to make money out of the sport. I think that's a good way to like start saying, okay, I'm a true professional. I'm inside the top 200 or 150, 100, and then I can start saying, I'm going around the Grand Slams, and yeah, I'm a true professional. Then I probably say.
It's interesting because what Patrick's just been talking about there is has really come from uh, the upbringing, the way that we sort of try and get him to understand. Because you can even see what Jurgen Klopp's done at Liverpool with the youngsters and getting them to understand that they have to earn things. So there was a few stipulations that Jurgen Klopp and the academy at Liverpool brought in, which probably meant that they missed out on some youngsters, but made sure that they keep them very grounded. Um, I think one of the stipulations that they can't have a car more than a 1.3 litre. They can't have the flash uh, bags. They can't, um, until they're in the first team. So it's always trying to keep the feet on the ground and earn. And I think that's something we've tried to get the boys to be aware of as well, because it's and appreciate the people that have helped them.
I think I've said this is it from the age I touched, from the age of 6 years old. I think when I fell in love with the sport, I think I always knew where I wanted to go with the sport. And now it's just kind of falling in place where now it's like, okay, I can actually try and make a living out of this. This is not why I'm doing it, but obviously helps you afford to do what you love. So yeah, I'd say it was from a young age actually. Now it's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And
But
yeah.
I think one of the parts along the journey, there's been lots of different elements. So, for example, Patrick used to practice with Carlos Alcaraz in Spain, and obviously seeing how he's gone forward and progressed in the sport has been brilliant. Because I think for 3 or 4 years we practiced with him in a small little group in Murcia, a small little club. And actually, I think his dad done an amazing job because he still stayed so grounded, humble, very similar to the what Klopp's done at Liverpool with and he was very big on Carlos staying grounded, keep working, keep improving, and I suppose the only thing you can do is become the best that you can be. So when people talk about ranking, um, ranking isn't something controllable. Becoming the best that you can be, and then finding out where that leaves you. And the one thing I try and say to Pat is, when you retire, can you look yourself in the mirror and say, "I couldn't have done any more"? So, and I think that's in any professional sport. And I spent time in Argentina, and I can see in South America that they're very big on maximizing what you've got, and that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be top 10. It could mean, for example, we've got one player that the coach that mentored me used as a great example. He said Carlos Burlock. He said without huge amounts of talent, achieved 30 ATP. So he was 30 in the world at what he does, but he totally maximised everything he had. Um, and I think there's a lot of players in tennis like that. I think a lot of Spanish players. David Ferrer, I think he got to top. Was it top 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, I think it's trying to control the things that you're in control of, and that's what we've tried to put into both of the boys. Because there's a lot of outside noise of what you're going to do, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Whereas um, trying to do it on a daily basis and try and do all the things to improve to the best you can be. Yes, I have, and even when the boys were very young, actually, I was when I was doing the coaching, I had an opportunity to go to Argentina and work under one of the top coaches. He took me under his wing and really helped me. Um, and yeah, I come back from that with my eyes were totally opened on professional tennis and what's required. So, and I think, especially in Argentina, I think the emphasis was hugely on physical and mental. Um, and actually, obviously, because we're sort of also involved, we were both very big into football growing up. I could see the link of it almost was like a football environment, the tennis environment in Argentina. Um, and I think that's why I connected very well with them. Um, and hence why you can see, even in the football, you can see there's a lot of South Americans because I think they work extremely hard, and the same things that we were talking about the values of earning everything and maximizing what you've got. Um, I think these are instilled, and I think when you work hard physically, mentally you become very strong. I think what's happened now, I think this is why the Phantom thing's really going to help because it's been challenging. Because not only Patrick, we've got his younger brother that's very good as well. So one of the challenges has been um, to do everything correctly. Up to a certain point, Patrick always practices with his brother as well, so that's always kept us together. And even when we do the pre-season, we did pre-season in Florida. His younger brother would come as well. So um, usually we travel as a three, don't we? And yeah, now obviously Connor's at a different stage, isn't he? Trying to get
100%,
into
yeah.
the juniors, but yeah, it's that's just why even my parents they look. This journey in the tennis is very different from, for example, if you were in the football or other team sports, you'd be more based at home. Whereas with the tennis, it requires a lot more travelling. We help a few other people, but again, it's one of the issues is your time. You don't have huge amounts of time, but we're doing things with the technology now. You can do a lot of things online. Um, I've got a few coaches that I connect with as well, so they can keep things going when I'm away. Um, but I think this is probably the hardest bit about um, tennis in general, because even coaches that sort of to travel 30 weeks of the year, there's a lot of very good coaches that of family, children that don't want to commit to doing 30 weeks a year. But I think it's fortunate. I've got a lot of good friends. So, for example, when we go to different places, there's other coaches that connect and that have got a lot of good experience, haven't they, Pat? Like, so even we did the preseason with Jaime, didn't we? Jaime Cortez, who's coached a lot of top players. So yeah, you try and make it fit, don't you?
Yeah, good question. So actually, I just came back, well, a month ago from Cleveland. I had a challenger in America and was out there for 3 weeks. The first couple of weeks were challenging, but yeah, I managed to do well the third week. I think I went through qualifying and won the first round against a German guy who was around 400, and then lost against a good player from America who was about 150. So yeah, my level has definitely been improving. The main goal for me is to just keep improving and keep focusing on, as I said, trying to focus on improving my game, and then seeing that where that takes me. Almost, I have some goals that I'd like to hit ranking wise, and certain tournaments I'd like to be able to aim to play for. As I said, Wimbledon's always a big one for the Brits, so I'd definitely love to be knocking on the door for playing Wimbledon this year. So whether that's the main draw or qualifying, I mean, we'll have to see how my ranking develops over these next few months. But I definitely believe that's something I can look to aim for. So yeah, that's probably my biggest goal this year, and to keep improving and build the ranking up.
And for our readers that haven't watched you play, tell us what sort of player you are.
I'd say I'm someone that's very creative. I like to. I'm also pretty solid from the baseline. Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty creative at the back. I like to come to the net. I have very good hands. So does my brother, actually. So I think that's because we started at such a young age. So we like to play with creativity, with flair, and with also, being a little bit like Djokovic, not missing as much. So you've got to be. I'm not 6'6", so I've also got to be solid with certain things at the back, and not missing as much. And then, yeah, as I said, I'd probably say I'm just quite a flair and creative player, I would say. And yeah, I can play many different ways. So I'd say I'm quite versatile to playing different ways, because of playing at such a young age, I would say. Well, it's been tough the last month because I've been injured. So I've had an injury in my wrist, knee, and foot. So it's as a tennis player, you go through half of your journey's getting injured. Like, genuinely, I think it's, I haven't played other sports that's so physical on the body, where your full body is getting used. At Yeah, it's not physical, but you're hitting that ball extremely hard, and you're moving side to side, forward and back, and you're moving extremely fast. And not only that, you're trying to focus on your opponent. So physically, it's a very demanding sport. But yeah, I mean, there were certain months where, because I wanted to improve physically and I knew it was so important, I would, for a month, do 9 hours a week on the treadmill, to keep my base up, because cardio is so important in tennis. And that was extremely hard. Something I don't miss doing at the moment. But during pre-season, usually as tennis players, we hit the gym a lot harder than during the season. Because during the season, it's more trying to maintain and be able to be fast, agile, quick around the court, stable. So a lot of balance work. It's hard to say exactly, to put it on how many hours I do a week. I'd probably say around 15 hours, maybe a little bit less. It depends.
I think
yeah.
it varies, and it depends on what you're working on. And it will change at different periods. So it's especially one of the things we've tried to, the Fantium will really help with this, is at the end of this season, because last year we spent a lot of time trying to build Pat up physically. So now he's a lot stronger, because for tennis you need to be very robust. And we've been very lucky that we've had Andy Ireland looking after Pat, who's the physio doctor. So any of the niggles or problems he has, we've got. I mean, Andy used to help Andy Murray, so you can rely on everything he's saying. So that gives you a peace of mind. So, for example, if he says you can't play for 2 weeks, you can't play for 2 weeks, or so. And I think it's not just in tennis. I think in all the sports, I can see a big difference in the football, for example, whereas before players would be out for a shorter period of time, and then they'd come back and get re-injured. Whereas now, I think obviously it's advanced a lot, hasn't it? So now you don't want reoccurrence of the same injury, because potentially that could put you out for a month or two. So,
Okay.
Who's best to say? I can say if it's best. Yeah, I mean, I think it's because we've realised that being able to do what I want to do, which is take this on to become a professional tennis player, means having to travel around the world a lot. And even if you're playing at an extremely high level, a lot of the times you're not even breaking even. So, for example, when I went to America, I went to California for a couple of tournaments, and then had to go to Ohio State for another tournament, which are challenges, which are a very high level in tennis. It's just below the ATP tour. You're still not even breaking even. So yeah, it's a very costly, expensive sport. And I think that's where we felt Fantium could help with that massively, even though that meaning that I would give obviously a percentage back. I felt like it was a very good decision for me to make to help me get to where I want to get to, and then give back a percentage to the people that have helped me. And I think not just in money, I've always tried to be like that with even little successes I've had in the past with playing at Wimbledon juniors, and I've always wanted to give back to the people that kind of have helped me so much along this path and this journey, because without it, there's not a chance I'd be able to do what I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest decision of why I was like, I think this is a very good decision.
I
Yeah.
think tennis is a very unique sport, isn't it? And you do require to do things correctly. You do need, and for example, if you look to a lot of the Argentinian players, that they would all say very similar things. That, for example, that Carlos Berlot, he'd say without the help he got, he wouldn't have been able to achieve 30 ATP. So with you need to be able to do the traveling, to be able to train properly, to do things.
Yeah, also to eat properly and recover properly when you're traveling, and you're burning so many calories by playing one match. Probably playing a match, you're probably almost burning around 3,000 calories. So um, it's almost trying to, when you're at the airports or when you're after a match, trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna uh, eat well, and I'm gonna get the best thing for my recovery, rather than, okay, I'm gonna get the cheapest thing because I know I'm on a tight budget and I don't want to cross the line with that. So I think there's many advantages that come with that. So
I think
yeah.
you don't want to cut corners. So you want to do things professionally. So as you go higher in, I suppose in every sport, the margins get smaller, and I suppose the more earning capacity that you've got, the more you can invest in having good people help. So, and at the top end of tennis, that's where you can see, um, generally they're doing things professionally. They're cutting less corners. Whereas as you go down, and probably Patrick just mentioned golf, that I'd say the difference in golf is you could probably go down to a lot more. In tennis, as soon as you start going below 200, 300, it's very difficult for the players to be able to fund themselves. And if you want to compete with a player that's top 100, he's actually able to do things more professionally. This is where we talked with Pat, like, probably the biggest cost for most of the players is the coach. So if you have to pay not only the coach, you then have to pay all the expenses. You have to pay their food. You have to the um, the bill can get quite high quite quickly. Um, so I think that's definitely helped. And then me having a lot of friends that have also helped out as well with the coaching, that's definitely, for example, we went to America, and one of my friends lived about an hour and a bit away. So because at the challenger level you get the hotel covered, but then so while you're in the tournament, and then when Pat went out, then we went and stayed with my friends and things like that. So um, yeah, you have to be quite
How much?
creative
Yeah.
with So I'd say that it'd be very difficult to put an actual figure on.
Car rentals, accommodation, food.
I actually wouldn't like to actually know.
Too scary.
Invest into my training and yeah, trying to, as I said, do things just the right way. Just little things like having a good fitness trainer at home, being able to pay them, and when I'm traveling, being able to eat well. I think little things like this will just be able to help me, and being able to have also good training blocks along the way, as he's already mentioned, with going to Argentina in the pre-season, maybe next year, little things like that, being able to do that will be massively helpful. So I think we'll definitely try and use it in the best way for my development.
I think the biggest thing is to not. It just gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility to make the right decisions, rather than having to cut corners and try. Oh, maybe we should save a little bit here, or so it's just trying to do things as professionally as possible, which things probably won't change that much. We'll probably do the same, and even on top of this, we'll just still try and raise extra sponsorship and things, because the more that you can get yourself into a position where, one of the things which we want is to get into a position where actually when Pat's on the court and kind of, they're not thinking about money, they're not thinking, oh, this is costing this and this is costing that, and I have to win this or I have to win that, so that he can totally focus on being the best that he can be. And that's what I think you want to
I think
do.
it's just trying to, in any form of life, just maximize what you can achieve, and I think that's all I want to do, is just see how far I can go with it, and see where that takes me, really.
I think we had when we were in America, we spent a bit of time with Taylor Fritz's dad, and that was a very good. He spent a couple of weeks with Patrick, and he had a lot of good advice, and he was very impressed with Patrick. And he said the things that you've got, there's players that can't do that. So, and because he's developed Taylor, he could sort of spot certain things. So the more that you can get good people that have been there and done it, I think it's invaluable.
I haven't even thought about that, but no, not really, to be honest, because it's like I feel that not to be in any way arrogant, but I feel like if I do the right things, and on this path and this journey, that I feel like I can give that money back.
I think the thing is that when you can control the things that you can control, we're not in control of ranking, we're not in control of these other parts. The one bit I would say with Patrick, he is obsessed, and what this funding will allow us to do is give him that opportunity to do everything professionally. So, and this is the big bit, which when you go down into the lower ends of the tennis, most of the players are having to cut corners. So that's why it's very difficult to compete with the top players, because they're doing everything professionally. They've got coach with them. They're always there. Sometimes they don't just have a coach with them; they have the physical trainer with them. So to compete, even, and then you go higher, and then they've got the analysis guy with them, and so to compete against that when you haven't got the resources is very difficult. So it's trying to put the things in place where you've got, in tennis, although people think it's an individual sport, it's actually a team, and all the successful ones have got a very tight team around them. And probably that's probably what people, when they're watching tennis, or sort of, they think it's an individual thing. But I think if you look at the top ones, they're all a very tight team. And when they do their speeches, the first thing they talk about is the team, that they wouldn't be able to do it without their team.
Yeah.